running for your life.
Welcome in to pod number 4 of the Coaches Banter. The title of this episode is the name of that last song. Coach Waddell, what is it?
One Shining Moment.
Yes, sir.
It's the most glorious time of the year.
It is, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Coach OD, how you doing, man?
What is going on, guys? We've got a bracket. We started up Tuesday night, and best 3 weeks in sports.
Yep, I hope to hear that sound right there a lot. Hey, Masters is coming up too soon.
It is.
So, anyways, our boy from Ardmore, speaking of golf real quick, Lee Hodges did place today, so he got a big payday. I didn't see quite where it was, where he finished, but if you make the cut, you generally make over 50 grand. How about that? That's more than we make in a year almost. Anyhow, AHS Sports Weekly Recap. Which one of you want to go first?
Sure, we can knock some soccer out real quick.
Oh, yes. Yeah. World football. Go ahead.
Pretty short week on the pitch this week. Only 2 games. Weather kind of got in the way again on Friday with the nice monsoon we got. But anyway, played East Limestone, 2 varsity games on Tuesday. Girls, Lady Tigers fell 4-0 versus a really good East Limestone team. Boys also lost 8-3 to East Limestone. And I will say this, I thought the East Limestone boys much improved this year. I think they'll actually can challenge for a playoff spot in the region, whereas last year they actually finished dead last in the region. So I thought they were much improved this year. So kudos to them. Went to Brewer on Thursday. Not a good night for either one of us. Lady Tigers fell 2-0, and the Tigers boys team fell 10-0, which Brewer's boys are really, really good, and Brewer girls, I think they're improved, but also, feel like that's one that we very well could have won also, but we'll get another chance at them here at Ardmore later in the year.
Yeah. Hey, you get revenge later, Coach. But, hey, in soccer, when it gets 10-0, is the game over? Does it stop? Is it?
So, after halftime, when it gets 10-0 after halftime, that's when they'll call it. So, like if it's, 10-0 in the second half, that's when they'll call it. But
gotcha.
It can go up before halftime. They don't cut it off, so it can be as high as they want it to go.
Hey, but it's always a running clock.
It is always a running clock, except within 5 minutes to go and a half.
All right, Coach OD, what you got for golf and the track, man?
All right, so last Thursday, track, they moved theirs up from Friday to Thursday. They went to Ardmore High School and competed, and then they're going to travel to Florence Thursday and compete as well. So I didn't get any numbers as far as positioning and things like that. This week, hopefully will by next week. Golf has had a busy one. They played at Florence last Monday and finished middle of the pack. Jared Douthit kind of led the way for the Tigers with an 83. And so that's a tournament. So that's 18 holes. So you're walking 18 holes and playing. So he was the low man with an 83 from Ardmore. Tuesday, they both the girls and boys beat Madison Academy and West Limestone. So a really good match for them. Hayden shot a 39, and Jared Douthit shot Hayden Durham, and then Jared Douthit shot a 41. Lainey Tomerlin came in with a 45 for the ladies. And then Thursday, the girls played at the Fairview tournament and finished third out of 14 teams. So really good finish for the girls. Lainey Tomerlin and Lainey Tipton both shot a 93, and they were top 10. So they finished in the top 10 of, I don't know, when you look at 14 teams and you probably got four or five girls per team, that's really good for them. So they had a good week. And then this week, the boys will be up and at it early in the morning at Athens for a tournament. And the girls were supposed to play in a match tomorrow, but that got canceled. And then both will play at Clements on Thursday. So good week for both the guys and girls. It's been good weather, so they were able to get out. And so that's what they got this week, and that'll kind of get them into fall break.
Gotcha. There's I think in girls they count 3 golfers per team is what you turn in.
I think 3 of the top 4.
Yeah. Yep. And boys is 5, play 5, count 4.
Yeah.
Yep. And some of the tournaments they go to, they'll let 6 boys play, but that's not what happens at regionals and state. Baseball had a good week. Really said they've had 2 good weeks. As we told you earlier on a previous pod, Coach Smith knows what he's doing. The schedule early is relentless to get them ready for right now, because Tuesday they play the hated East Limestone Indians, and their athletic director, shout out Mr. Jordan Angus. He's Ardmore through and through, though. Anyhow, they beat West Limestone 8-2 on Tuesday, and then on Thursday they went to Randolph and played a doubleheader and beat them 14-4 and 10-4. I think Coach Smitty, we call him Coach Smitty, so it's Coach Smith. They've kind of narrowed down some things. I think he's got his pitching rotation ready to roll. They play East Limestone at home on Tuesday, so that's 1 game. And then they go to East Limestone on Thursday to play games 2 and 3. Game 3 doesn't matter if you win game 1 and 2, but generally they still play it. So we need you out Tuesday night. We will air a video of the baseball team on AHS Sports, our channel, sports channel. So be on the lookout for it. It'll be aired probably on Monday. Coach O'Donnell sat down with Coach Smith and our seniors. So be on the lookout for that. And then Tuesday, also moving on to softball in just a second, but they play at home too. So a lot going on Tuesday. We'll talk about softball in a minute. Let's see. We got the JV. They only had 1 game this week, and they've only lost 1 game, but they didn't lose this week. They beat West Limestone 19-9. That's all coaching. That's Coach K, if you want to know why they're so darn good. The freshmen, I know, played a couple games this week. And let me just tell you the freshmen's record, guys. 5, 4, 3. 5 wins, 4 losses, and 3 ties. This ain't soccer. They got more ties than soccer put together. I mean, what are we doing? And that's all coaching. That's Coach Wales. I had a guy tell me one time, time's like kissing your sister. Anyhow, they played, oh my goodness, they played Monday. They beat West Morgan 9-0. That was a good one. Some things happened that day. Thursday, they tied Lindsay Lane. Then they beat Lindsay Lane. And then they turn around Saturday and they tie Grissom. And then they beat Grissom. So we made fun of them on Thursday because that was their second tie. And then lo and behold, on Saturday, they go out and they tie again. Just insane how that works. AD Jarrett is with us here. We'll let him join. He just see what he's got to say about his weekly recap real quick. Oh, look at there. He ain't even in the thing. We're firing him. He's fired. Okay, he's back. All right, we'll let him talk. Okay.
Can you hear me yet?
Hey, we were making fun of our freshman boys. 3 ties. You made fun of them on Thursday. And then we had another one.
Absolutely. We just I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh, me.
Are we good now?
Yeah, you're good now. We got you. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Listen, their record is 5-4-3, and that's not a countdown. That's their record. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening in the world of freshman baseball right now. But
yep.
If we could just get one more run, than the other team. That's all I need. I'll be honest with you. I think I take one less sometimes. Just, I don't know.
No kidding.
3 ties. I told Landon this morning. I don't know what the state record is, but I'm looking it up because there's no way. There's no way one baseball team has ever tied 3 times.
Oh me.
Y'all gonna have to start putting them on put a runner on third for each team.
Yes, do our own international tiebreaker rules.
Baseball version of a PK shootout.
Yeah, I like it. That's not a bad idea.
Softball did have one of those. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're not to softball yet. Middle school, the 8th graders went to West Limestone and won on Tuesday, and then they lost to Athens Middle on Thursday. The 7th grade, did they play? Yep. Let's see.
They did.
Yep, they beat West 4-0, and then they didn't have such a good outcome against Athens.
No, that was
on Thursday.
A rough night for them.
Yeah. So we have recapped golf, track, and baseball and football. If you want to add any things to those,
tell us.
No, I had some last minute additions to track here. So
go
I was
ahead.
talking to Addison.
Yeah, tell us. I didn't
Addison
get
about it.
Track.
And so Addison said, as crazy as this seems, and maybe this is an Albertville thing, Coach O'Donnell can talk about this, but they didn't have a timer on the running part. So, like, you finished, like her, for example, she finished 3rd in the 1600 and finished 4th in the 800. But, like, they didn't have an official timer. And so it was really weird. Like, her mom had a time. Coach Morrow had a time. She, of course, had a time on her watch or whatever. All 3 were slightly different. And then now that if you look on AL mile split, it says 5:31. Well, I think she had herself at a 5:28, but she said, that was give or take a couple.
Where did you say you went and ran at the Athwards Upward League? Because they don't keep score up the Upward League.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. I think it was Upwards track at Albertville Thursday. So, but now here's what's funny is they said like the facilities were top notch. They said really nice facilities. Maybe they just they ran out of money and couldn't buy a stopwatch. I don't know what happened. But hey, shout out to a couple of our throwers. Y'all may have already said this.
We did not.
Mike Broadway.
Okay. That's my guy.
Sixth in the discus. That was out of 36. It says 102-10. I should probably know more than I do. I'm assuming that's 102 feet.
Hang on, Waddell. What is that? Tell us.
I believe it is feet. But it's been a few years since I've done track.
Oh, come on, Coach.
I would think
a lot of people know that.
I think they would use feet, which how about that's a long way to throw that thing. And then, hey, another one of your linemen, Will Seabolt.
Yes, sir.
He gets 9th out of 38 in the shot put. He threw it 36 feet 7 inches. So shout out to those 2 guys. Not a bad. Hey, that's pretty good for some guys that had just started doing this. Yeah. So.
Will Seabolt almost squatted 500 pounds last week too.
Hey, yes,
yes,
not bad,
sir.
Not bad.
So Will's doing some good things, man. He's getting more athletic, and I'm proud of that kid. Yeah. And I offered Mike a 6-year eligibility too. If you could talk him into that AD, I'd appreciate it.
We're gonna look into it, see what the rules are. He may have a COVID year we could use. So,
yes, sir. All right. Softball recap. Tuesday, the varsity girls held on to beat Giles County and scared us a little bit there at the end. And then on Thursday, lost a heartbreaker and international tiebreaker, which you could do in the regular season if both coaches agree. Maybe Coach Wales needs to learn something about that. I don't know because he ain't got the tiebreaker thing down. But anyhow, they lost to Athens in international tiebreaker 6-5. But in softball's defense, they are what we like to call the walked and wounded. They had to bring up some girls that were not on varsity before the week due to some injuries, and a couple of those hopefully are coming back this week because just as baseball, softball's real season starts this week. They play at home versus Russellville. So if you don't like baseball and you like softball, which is me, come and watch them play Russellville Tuesday. Russellville has a pretty darn good pitcher. They'll be trotting out Jenna Moore. And then we're going to see what we could do to try to get a dub there. And then on Thursday, the Lawrence County Red Devils come to town in another area game. There's a 3-team area. And these is two huge games for our softball team. Middle school. Have you got them handy, Jared, or do I need to look them up real quick?
I don't have it. No, I don't have this week down for them. While you're looking that up, like you said, couple injuries on Tuesday. It was kind of a weird night. So we had youth night, which is always cool. Had a ton of kids there. I think I counted off of my team. I've got a 6U team. 9 out of our 11 were there, so it was pretty cool. And then there were a bunch of other girls there, so it was kind of a cool night. But then, even though it ended with a win,
we had to pull some of yours out of the stands to come play, didn't we? To finish the game.
I think so. Ella Michael ran bases in the bottom of the 6th, I think. So, yeah, but yeah. So hopefully, Addison Michael looks like hers. She avoided maybe a break there, so that was huge.
Yep.
It didn't look good. I will say that her hand was pretty swollen, but hopefully she's had the weekend to kind of rest it and maybe get that swelling down. She's a trooper, so I have a feeling she'll be back pretty soon, and then should know more about Ellie hopefully in the morning and see what's going on with her. But
Brindley also got released Thursday, Friday, something.
Yeah. So it was good. Coach Hamner decided to back out of the tournament this weekend, which I think was the right move. Just get even without those 3, just get all the girls kind of a break, get some rest, get healed up. You got, like you mentioned, you got area starting this week, which is really what matters more than anything. And so kind of get healthy, or at least, if nothing else, get your mind ready for that. And so for baseball and softball, it's a big week as area starts. So
it ain't a sprint; it's a marathon, especially in softball.
Right.
You got to get them to the finish line, because I'll just tell you, the year Stephen Ball finished second, and last year when we finished second, about the middle of the season, both teams were absolutely atrocious. You would have never thought we'd won another game, much less finish second. So it's about just getting there, and they'll be fine. Middle school girls smoked Athens 17-2 on Monday, and also beat them 9-3. So a good week by them. And then our JV, I don't know that they played this week, but I will check.
I've got them down. My bad. And hey, my bad. I had middle school in JV.
Yeah, they beat Athens.
I thought you meant for the next week. I completely dropped the ball on that. So I had all of that written down right here in front of me.
Oh.
But yeah, they beat Athens 21-9. Like you mentioned, middle school had 2 big wins. I thought you meant for next week. I do not have their next week stuff written down.
I know Russellville has a JV. So they'll play JV there, so and Lawrence County has JV, so they'll play JV there.
Okay. It was on Game Changer when I looked. I didn't have the actual schedule in front of me. What's the middle school? Have they got something this week? I didn't.
I just had it up. Let me see here.
I'm sure they do. I just didn't have it written down. I wrote down all the scores from last week. I didn't have this week coming up.
They play East on Monday. The hated East Limestone Indians. Yeah. So it's going to be cold tomorrow. It'll be perfect for outdoor weather. I hope nobody's got anything to do outside tomorrow, Coach Waddell.
Oh, yeah. Got a little county tournament action over at Elkmont with 2 varsity soccer teams.
Are there any home games?
Coach Sparkman, did you tell Coach Waddell our new rule about how much time he gets on soccer?
I sent him a text. He said short time.
Well, did you tell him what the new rule is?
Well,
there's a new rule in Coach Waddell. I hate to do this to you, I really do, but we've got a new rule in place. The number of minutes spent on soccer is equal to the number of goals scored in the week. So look, hang on. Let me get my calculator out real fast.
Hey.
Count up.
Only scored 3 this week.
Hey, add in there.
Carry the 0.
Plus Vanderbilt men's basketball tournament bids.
Oh, I can't say much about there.
We
didn't do too hot either. Yeah, sorry, Coach. That's my only joke for the year. But hey, look, no, tough. I will say this. Somebody talked about Tuesday at East, and I think it was actually Coach King, was when I was leaving to go to our practice, he said, hey, it's like 1-0. And I said, look, Coach Waddell, I remember this last year, will keep a couple girls back and focus on defense and really try to keep it a low-scoring game just to stay in the game. And I'm assuming that was kind of the game plan this past Tuesday. So, but
It was.
I mean, you're talking about a team that's going to be competing, I'm assuming, for another state championship, and so that's, they're not bad.
Yeah, they're still really good. A little bit different cast of characters, but those players are still really good for the East girls.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Mr. Jarrett, anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm assuming I can't. Man, my eyesight's bad. I get what's next. SEC tournament recap. Nobody wants to recap that crap. But I mean, I will say this. I know. I'm guessing you got Wells and Kirkpatrick on deck, and
no, they
going to look at
we
the big.
Fired them.
Are they not on deck?
Fired.
Oh, they're out.
Yeah, fired them.
Well,
popular demand too. They were fired.
I don't know that I've ever been this confused going into the big tournament on teams. Like last week I was ready to, bet my house on Kentucky and they flopped. I would have bet what I had left on Houston and they flopped. I mean, so it's just, tournament basketball is all about matchups though. And it's all about just where their mindset is, all of that, and so it's going to be interesting.
It's all about right here. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
It's the one shining moment.
That's right.
Yep. All right.
So I don't know. Are y'all going to go over champ? Are y'all picking champs tonight?
You got to tell us who you got. Yeah, give us your final four. We'll jump ahead.
Well, I've been saying this for a month now, so I can't get off of UConn. And looking at that, I mean, I will say that's a tough bracket. Like you mentioned before, Iowa State in there, Auburn in there. That's a rough one. But at the end of the day, I think UConn is so good on both ends of the floor, which I think in the tournament that matters more than anything.
Yep.
And even though they looked horrible against Iowa State. Again, Houston on both ends of the floor, I think is really, really good. I think they're close to top 10 on both. So I like Houston. I like those are my two number ones to come out. I don't think Purdue's getting there, and I don't think North Carolina's getting there. Now, who it'll be, I don't know. But in a weird way, I still like Kentucky to make a deep run. Again, I saw your text earlier. I kind of agree. They may not get out of the first weekend, or they could be in the Final Four. But I don't know. They're a weird team right now to figure out. And then that North Carolina bracket that Bama's in, I don't know. I don't know that I like any team. I mean, I guess somebody's got to go, but I don't know. That's a weird bracket, to be honest with you. I mean, Bama could play 2 double-digit seeds right off the bat in the first weekend to get to the Sweet 16. I actually think that's really possible. And so that's an odd bracket, to be honest with you. Yeah. Who's the two? I don't have it in front of me. Who's the 2-3 matchup in that bracket?
In Alabama's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go hunt through Arizona. Arizona's
okay.
I think makes
Arizona's the 2. Who's that 3?
Is it?
Was it
here? Yeah, you're gonna go off the screen, but we'll look real quick. Baylor. See, I'm not through about them. I'm with you. I think it's Arizona. It's out west. Heck, it's an advantage for Arizona being the 2 seed. All the 1 seeds were just on this side of the country, and so you had to put somebody out there. And I think Arizona, based on the way they did it, I guess is technically the number 5 team. And so they actually get the home court advantage over North Carolina if they make it that far. So yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, I'm still going to put the Huskies, I think, cutting down the nets in April. But we'll see. It's hard to go back to back, but
it is.
All right, Mr. Jarrett, we appreciate you. Everything you do. Hey, are you working the game? Is there any home games tomorrow night?
No home games tomorrow. How about that?
Oh, that's Mr. Bryant's night, so no duh.
Yeah. He'll probably get Monday and Wednesday of this week. It'll probably be his 2 nights to work. Well, me and King will take the rest.
Nothing on campus on Wednesday or Sundays, though, right? Can you verify?
That's right. Well, I can verify. Yes, there's no games.
Oh, I'm putting him in a bad spot. All right.
But yeah, I guess that's all I can say about today. But anyways.
All right, Mr. Jet, we appreciate you, man, and we'll see you next time.
All right, man. All right,
yes, sir. All right. That's our AHS Sports Weekly Recap. Come out and support your Tigers. Big week for our spring sports. Moving on. I want to talk about the SEC tournament, baby! Let's go.
Couldn't get you to talk about SEC baseball this week.
No, we're not talking about baseball. Nobody cares about baseball right now. Okay? This is March
Madness,
baby. My Tigers. Let's recap the SEC tournament real quick. We started first game of the SEC tournament. Sorry, Coach Waddell, but your Doors went home first. Arkansas beat Vanderbilt 90-85. The second game on Wednesday night, Georgia beat Missouri. Imagine that. Moving on to the next day, Mississippi State beat LSU by 10. Arkansas got beat by South Carolina by 14. Texas A&M beat Ole Miss. Florida beat Georgia by 5. Moving on to the next day, upset number 1, Mississippi State took down Tennessee. I think Tennessee's a little, but boy, they have an easy bracket in the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that. All right, then Auburn smoked South Carolina for the second time this year. Texas A&M beat Kentucky. Florida beat Alabama. Semifinals, Auburn beat Mississippi State by 7. Did y'all know that is the only win of the season for the Tigers that was not by more than 10 points? And then Florida beat A&M by 5. That was a really good ball game. And then today, Auburn smoked Florida 86-67 to win the third SEC tournament in history of Auburn basketball. Second for Dr. Pearl. The last time he won it was in 2019 when the Auburn Tigers got cheated out of the Final Four against the – I don't even want to talk about it. Anyhow, he's going to make it right this year. Guys, thoughts about the SEC tournament? SEC's deep, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, we led, I guess, what we tie with the Big 12 for the most.
8.
Ran with 8. So we talked about last week Mississippi State and that they'd be a problem, and they got all the way. What was it, to Saturday and got beat to Auburn.
And if they didn't play Auburn, they might have got to the championship.
Yeah. I guess my big thing coming out of that, out of the whole weekend is Auburn's probably playing as good as anybody. They've proved that they can do it away from home now. I mean, they got a good draw with teams getting beat and kind of where they were at, but they still played really well. They've got a lot of confidence. I mean, Bruce Pearl, you can say what you want to. He's one of the best ones to do it, not only in the SEC but in the nation. And so they're going to have a lot of momentum going in. Conversely, I guess you kind of got to look at Kentucky. You can look at Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama, the 3 kind of other top seeds. And it's really going to be who can kind of pick themselves up and keep pushing forward. I think Kentucky will, just because of their talent. Their draw is really good. And so, but it was a good weekend. A lot of good competitive basketball. I hated that Alabama laid an egg like they did, but it was. I enjoyed watching it. Loved the SEC tournament. Big crowd there. Heck, Wednesday night it was pretty much sold out, and then I think it got down a little bit once Kentucky got out, but still like a good crowd yesterday and today.
What about the Auburn faithful today? Coach Waddell texted me today, and he said, "I've never seen anybody take over the SEC arena like that except Kentucky and maybe Tennessee. The Auburn fans showed up and showed out." And I told Coach Waddell, I said, Auburn fans are kind of weird. Auburn fans will travel like the best fans in any sport, but our team has to be really good for us to do that. And Auburn has never consistently been really good at anything. But when we are, Auburn fans will come out in numbers and waves. Coach Waddell, thoughts?
And to add on to that, Nashville is closer for a lot of Auburn fans. living up here in the Huntsville area, and of course have a huge alumni base in the Nashville area. It's easier to go there than to try to buy tickets to get to
Yeah, a
home.
whole lot cheaper than Auburn Arena.
Kind of few, number one, a lot of games were absolutely, really great games. I know my Commodores got beat first on Wednesday night, but that was an OT game where, you know, we led throughout a bunch of it and kind of blew a lead, and Arkansas took it back. Doors tied it up, sent it to OT, but, really good game to kind of start off it, everything. Great crowd. Wednesday night, that was by far, I think, the most packed it's been on a Wednesday night since they've been doing it. So kudos to the SEC on that, and really pushing out a lot of tickets for that. Honestly, kind of adding on to what y'all were saying, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, we're kind of back at, what do we expect out of those three teams? And you feel like any three of those teams can make a really deep run. Maybe Tennessee and, because they're maybe Tennessee and Kentucky a little bit deeper than Alabama, but, heck, Alabama gets the right draw. They could put up 100 any given night. I feel like Alabama and Kentucky's, kind of similar in that their issues have been on the defensive end. Alabama kind of lack a true rim protector, and Kentucky, I don't really know exactly what it is with them. They look really good sometimes, and they score in all their games pretty efficiently, but man, they struggle to defend really good guard play as well. And Tennessee, Dalton Connect, SEC Player of the Year, rightfully so. But how are they going to handle themselves? When he's having a great night, but no one else is really chipping in. That's
Heck,
kind
if
of
they
been
had to
the story
play anybody, they
well,
got the easiest
kind of been the
draw.
story. Well, it's kind of been the story on UT this year. He's pretty much shown up every night, but they still have these nights where, man, they struggle to get someone to really come in and support him. But they're still built really well. They defend elite defensive team, and you got to think that that's going to give them a chance most nights. After watching the tournament this week, though, I can tell you the one I would not want to play right now, is Mississippi State.
That's officials
dependent,
though.
It is very officials dependent. If they let them play,
you don't want
then
them.
State's going to be tough to beat.
Yep.
Because you are going to get physically beat to death with the style of ball that they play. They don't hit a lot of threes, but they're going to wear you out inside. They're going to rebound. They can rebound with anybody, and they play elite defense. And their length and athleticism and just physicality is really incredible. But, again, it's very officials dependent. And I don't mean this bad towards Mississippi State, but if the crew is calling everything really tight, and that really does work against them because they can rack up foul trouble really quick. But
yeah,
that's there's a reason that John Rothstein calls Chris Jans the dentist, because when you play Mississippi State, it's like getting a root canal done. Trying to beat those guys, and that's one to definitely watch out for. I think coming out of the SEC tournament. Texas A&M as well, scoring the ball really well throughout the tournament. Also, that's kind of been a positive development for them moving into the NCAA tournament. But and we'll get into more of that later.
Yep. Mississippi State, if they get officials calling the game like they did in the first half against Auburn, watch out. Because Auburn's playing, right now, Auburn's playing better than anybody in the country. And Mississippi State frustrated the piss out of us in the first half. We couldn't get anything going. I just kind of do want to toot my own horn a little bit, because I did say on the podcast last week that Texas A&M and Mississippi State were two teams I didn't want to see. Buzz does a really good job this time of year, and it's for the same reason Mississippi State does, is because they play a style of ball that is beneficial at this time of the year when it's all about rebounding. Officials let you play more. You can get more physical. Those things that they do, now they don't generally score that well, but A&M can score better than Mississippi State. But When officials let you play that style of ball, they get after your tail, man. They play with their hands on defense, which is frustrating. If you're an offensive team, that'll get inside your head. And so, Mississippi State talked a bunch of trash too. I just want to clear that up. I know Auburn's players talk trash, and Baker Mendoza needs to back it up sometimes. But Mississippi State, man, they were dirty, boys. But anyhow, they took that L.
That's their MO though, and it fires them up, and they just ain't gonna take no crap off anybody, and they kind of play with a chip on their shoulder. They take on the persona of Chris Jans, their coach. I mean, they ain't backing down to nobody, and
But I tell you this, Baker Mendoza and KD Johnson can go to a prison and not back down. They know how to get after your tail, son. So, anyways, Auburn finished it off with a 19-point win in the second half, really. Florida got it within 2 today, and then Auburn stretched it out. They really didn't miss in the second half. They shot 60-something%. And if Auburn shoots 60-something%, there's nobody that's going to beat them because they play such good defense. But that's not the case for them most of the time. Any other thoughts on the SEC tournament? My closing thoughts on it is this is the best the SEC's been in my lifetime, and I love it, man. It was competitive, entertaining, and I know y'all are disappointed as Alabama fans. But, man, the league is so darn good, and your defense just gets exposed sometimes. But it's all about matchups, and we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament in just a second. Alabama got a really good matchup. You didn't have a good matchup in the SEC tournament. So it's all about matchups at this point in time, and as Coach Waddell or one of you said, Auburn did have a favorable matchup in the SEC tournament because even if Auburn had to play Tennessee, they matched up really well with Tennessee. But kudos to Bruce Pearl for making Auburn relevant again. And I don't know if y'all saw Bruce Pearl teary-eyed today. And what I find most impressive about Auburn, and I'll get off my Auburn because I'm going to talk about them more in a little bit, is Bruce Pearl has Auburn motivated unlike most of those other teams we talked about, Kentucky, Alabama. I don't know. A good coach has a way of motivating his players to the end goal at the right times. And Auburn is pissed off and motivated right now, man. But anyhow, let's move on to the one and only. Let's hear that theme song again. I can't wait. When do we start? Wednesday night. Final Four. We're off to the races. All right, guys, it's that time. It's Cinderella's time. So let's get it up. Here's the bracket. If you have not seen it, if you ain't made your picks, get them in. We'll start with the Final Four, or first four, whatever we want to call them, down there at the bottom. Boise State, which really, in my opinion, didn't even need to be in. Got a 10 seed. But some people thought they should have been higher, so I guess 10 seed's right, whatever. And Colorado, who has 2, possibly 3 lottery picks, but somehow they don't play together very well. They're also a 10 seed. Virginia, I think they got the Alabama football benefit of the doubt. I don't know that their resume says they should be in, but they have one of the best coaches in the country, and guess what? They're in. And then the last one is Colorado State. And I don't remember which one of those were the last ones in. The final 4 of the 16, first 4 of the 16, all of these automatically qualified. These are just kind of the 4 worst teams in the tournament. Montana State, Waddell, what is their mascot?
The Bobcats.
Hey, I am SWAC. What is it, Waddell? Grambling.
The G-Men from Grambling State Tigers. Making their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament.
Yes, sir. If y'all hear me say, you ain't SWAC because he's SWAC, that's Waddell. Waddell played in the SWAC, folks. Waddell, that guy, in the SWAC, believe it or not. Howard, Coach Waddell, what are they?
The Howard Bison.
Yes, sir. And the last one, I don't know if you can get this on Wagner.
The Seahawks.
Did you know that one, O'Donnell?
I don't know. No shot.
Oh, me. Ain't nobody Waddell don't know. What's Stinson, whatever. They're a new team in the tournament.
Stetson may have the best mascot in the tournament.
I don't even know what it is. What is it?
The Hatters.
Yeah, I thought it was the Hatters.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how he knows this crap. Unbelievable. All right. Let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the East, which let's all agree that is by far, hands down, bar none, the hardest bracket in the tournament. Yes or no?
Yes.
Pretty tough.
Now, what I do not like about the East is people have said this all the time, and I don't like it, but this bracket was finished basically at 2 o'clock this morning, by the way, if y'all didn't know that. Well, the tournament championships hadn't been played at that point. But anyways, these are basically done before the tournament's finished, which sucks. Because what happened in the East is UConn won the Big East, Auburn won the SEC, Illinois won the Big Ten, and Iowa State won the Big 12. That's the 4 big conferences in basketball. And all conference tournament champions are in the same bracket. And most people would argue those are the 4 hottest teams in the country. And they are in the same bracket as the top 4 seeds. Which, if you're an Auburn fan, sucks. Because you arguably have to go through UConn. We'll get there in just a second. The first game is UConn versus Stetson in their first appearance. Did y'all know that? Yes, sir. That game, according to ESPN Power Ratings, UConn has a 100% chance to win. I don't think there's any way that upset happens. No way. The second game, if y'all got stuff, just chime in and throw it in as I go through here, okay? The second game, Florida Atlantic, the Final Four, FAU with all returning starters, barely got in. As an 8 seed versus the what should be Vanderbilt Commodores, because if Northwestern can do it, why can't Vandy? Same standards, Waddell. What are we talking about, man?
We'll get into that a little later.
Okay. The FAU Owls at 25-8 playing the Northwestern Wildcats at 21-11. According to the ESPN Power Ratings, upset Northwestern will take down FAU.
See, let me stop you there. I don't think FAU should have gotten in. I don't think they deserved it. They finished out getting beaten in the conference tournament by, was it Temple?
Mm-hmm. 11 seed in their tournament.
Yeah, I just and again, I know part of it with what they did last year. But I think Northwestern, I feel is about as confident saying Northwestern is going to win that one as I do, any top ones. I think Northwestern's really good, actually. They got a really good point guard. Coach does a good job, and I think they're going to, I guess you can call it the upset since they're the 9, but I think Northwestern wins that one.
Speaking of which, let me give you guys some statistics real quick as we get started. 1 versus 16, the odds of the 16 winning are less or just over 1%. Okay? Waddell, can you tell me how many times a 1 seed has lost in the first round?
Twice.
That is correct. They are 2 and 150 all time.
One of them was last year. Purdue got beat by FDU.
Yes, they did.
Won in the first 4 in Dayton.
Yep.
And then, of course, UMBC, the Retrievers, was the first to do it against UVA.
Yep.
A couple years back.
The 15 versus 2, 15 seeds have won 11 times out of 150. They've lost 141. That's a little over 7% rate. 14 versus 3, almost 15% of the time, 14 can upset 3. That's 22 wins. 13 over 4, that happens about 21% of the time. That's not as much as I thought, actually, for only 32 victories all time in the first round. 12 versus 5 gets a little frisky here. 35%, the 12 upsets the 5. That's 53 wins, 99 losses for them. The 11 versus 6 is 58 versus 94, so it's 58 wins and 94 losses. So the 12 versus 5 has about the same odds as upsetting as 11 versus 6. And we're going to talk about that in a minute because I picked one of these 12v5s, so we'll get into that and why. 10 versus 7, the 10 wins about 39% of the time, and 9 versus 8, the 9 actually wins more than the 8 at 51%. So a little statistic there. I took a picture of this, and I do want to mention this as we go through each one, just so if y'all didn't see this graphic. UConn was obviously the first overall seed, so I won't talk about them. Florida Atlantic was the 31st overall seed, and Northwestern was the 36th. San Diego State was the 18th, which means they were the 3-5 seed. UAB was 50, so it don't matter. Auburn was the 15th seed, which means they were second to last on the 4-seed line, which is frustrating for me. BYU was the 17th seed overall, which means they were second to last 6th seed. Illinois was the 12th seed, which means they were the first last 3 seed, which is another stupid thing. They're playing as good as anybody. Washington State, don't care about them. And Iowa State was the last 2 seed, which is another stupid. We thought they would be close to a 1 seed, and they're the last flipping 2 seed. Whatever. So just some info on that. All right, Waddell, you've been quiet. You got any thoughts so far before we move on to San Diego State and UAB? Because I know we're going to have some talk about that.
I'll say this about FAU. I think what probably got them in the tournament was the fact that, in non-conference, they sport wins over Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Arizona, and in conference they did beat Memphis. That was probably their best in-conference win. But Texas A&M, NCAA tournament team, Arizona is on the 2 line. Lost to Illinois in the non-con as well. Close one. I went back and forth on it, but I'm going to take FAU.
Yep. What wins this time of year is defense. FAU is not worth the piss at defense. They rank consistently in the 1 to 200s in basically every defensive category. Now, they can score a little bit. They're terrible at free throws. What wins games this point of the year? Defensive free throws. And they are terrible at those 2 things. So I'm going to go with Northwestern on that one. All right. Coach Waddell, I think you're crazy. I know you don't want to hire this guy, but I think he is a high-quality coach. And Andy Kennedy got UAB in the tournament, and a guy named Butta. And let's just cut right to it. I'm picking UAB because a guy named Butta. And Coach O'Donnell knows exactly what I'm talking about because he got to see him play for a few years at Ardmore. Butta Johnson played at Grissom High School. And Butter don't always play good. Butter does some stupid stuff. But Butter is the ultimate gamer, man. And he carried UAB in the CUSA tournament. The power ratings for this is San Diego State, 78% to UAB's 22%. The simulation, according to ESPN and their 1,000 simulations, is San Diego State will win 76 times. San Diego State has a really good player. They have a lottery pick on their team. And he's really a one-man show a lot of times. San Diego State is not very good on the offensive end. They rank towards, their field goal percentage, their effective field goal percentage is 219th in the country. They're 111th in points per possession. They just don't really score that well. They do get to the free throw line okay. Defensively, they are pretty darn good. They're SEC good. But UAB has bigger guards. They have bigger bodies. I think this is a good matchup for UAB. I'm going with UAB, guys.
You know what San Diego State does not have that UAB does?
Andy Kennedy.
The one, the only, Tony.
Tony and Butta Johnson. All team, baby. All name right there.
Shout out to the Jemison Jags. I actually took UAB in this game, and by the way, I do think Andy Kennedy does a great job. I would be very much okay if he was the next head coach of the Vanderbilt Commodores. I just don't see that hire happening. But
Coach, if he wins this game,
I think he does a really good job. There's other reasons why I don't think that happens, but man, he did a great job at Ole Miss, and that was back when Ole Miss had the worst facilities in the league, and it wasn't even close in basketball.
Yep. OD, who you got?
I think UAB gets it done.
It is. It's one of those 5-12s, and I think a lot of people will pick that upset, and so I just don't feel very. I don't know. I think I'm gonna say San Diego State. I don't. That one's a tough one. I don't know. I think everybody's gonna pick UAB, and I think that's the one that will kind of mess everybody's bracket up if they've got. I mean, I can see people putting UAB all the way to maybe upsetting Auburn, but I'm taking San Diego State.
San Diego State and FAU were two of the Final Four teams, so they have been there and done that. Neither one lost a whole lot. San Diego State lost a little bit. Moving on to the Auburn Tigers, the power ratings on ESPN says that Auburn has a 90% chance to win, and the simulation is way more than that. It says Auburn will win 97% of the time. I don't think there's any chance they will be. I mean, I guess it's the NCAA tournament. Anything can happen. Auburn is the only team in the country in top 10 offensive efficiency and top 10 defensive efficiency, and they are playing extremely well, extremely motivated, extremely selfless. Auburn has an inside game. They can also shoot it. They are a tough matchup for Yale because Auburn is extremely athletic, and Yale's going to be really smart, not necessarily athletic. It's going to be like me and Coach O'Donnell being out there. But anyways, I'm going with Auburn. I think it's another win by 10 plus for the Tigers.
I mean, I'll say this. I know we rag on, the bracket, their side, the East, how hard it is. But I think they win. I think they beat Yale and San Diego State, and I think they both beat them both by double digits. So yeah. I think their first two, they're going to get through those pretty easy. Yeah. But, man, the buzzsaw that awaits them in the Sweet 16 is, I could feel good at picking them against any of the other ones, but UConn is just on a different level.
Yeah, no doubt. Waddell?
Yale is a very athletic team in the Ivy League. This isn't the Ivy League. This is Auburn. Auburn wins this game.
Yeah, by a lot. All right, moving on. BYU versus, how do I say it, Waddell? Because I don't want to screw it up.
The Duquesne Dukes.
The Duquesne.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right. BYU comes in at 23-10 versus the Dukes, who are 24-11. It's kind of a high seed for a 24-11 team. But anyways, ESPN gives BYU a 73% chance to win. And the simulation has BYU winning 82% of the time. I'll be honest, I don't even know who I picked, to be honest with you. Y'all go ahead while I figure out who I picked.
I mean, I took BYU. BYU, of course, transitioned to the Big 12 this year. I think the Big 12 and the SEC can both make arguments for being the best league in the country this year. And, BYU did very well in the Big 12. I actually kind of think they might be underseeded just a tad. I think BYU wins that game.
Yep. That's who I picked, by the way.
I think at least one 6-11 game, 11 will win. I get down the ESPN Plus rabbit hole sometimes, and I've caught Duquesne a couple times. First time since 1977. Coach said he's retiring, and they kind of make a magical run. I don't know, something about BYU. I'm gonna say Duquesne in that one.
I don't think that's a terrible pick.
Oh,
and that's because BYU don't play great defense. So, at this time of year, if you don't play great defense, anything can happen.
And the A-10 is a really good mid-major league.
It is.
The league that Duquesne won. So, that happened.
Yep. All right. Illinois with in my opinion, a really tough draw because I am a Morehead State fan.
Yes, you are. Johnny Broom.
We have a guy from there that turned out to be really good, but they actually have another one that's a little bit taller, not quite as athletic, that really is able to dominate the paint. But let me give you the ESPN. ESPN power rating says Illinois has a 91% chance to win, but the simulation says only an 82% chance. And when you see those simulations less than the power ratings, it's kind of like Vegas. They know something. And I think this game is close. I picked Illinois because they're playing really well, but Morehead, I like them. Did you know this is Morehead State's first time in the tournament? Yeah.
It's not.
Did not. Wow.
Well, Morehead State's been in before. They've actually won a game in the tournament.
Well, I see. I'll look that up. Y'all
Donnie
go ahead.
Tim-
Talk about this game.
I like Illinois. I don't know on the stuff like that on those games. Illinois is kind of playing really well right now. They got a legit scorer. Brad Underwood does a really good job with them. They've kind of, they've had their tough goes at it with better teams in the past few years, but I'll say Illinois wins that one.
I'm gonna go Illinois as well, but could be interesting. Could be an interesting game. Wouldn't be shocked if it's close, but man, Illinois is hot right now. Just won the Big Ten. Hard to pick against that.
Yep. All right, moving on. Washington State. I think this will be a close ball game, and I really don't know who to pick. 7-10s, you never know, man. According to the power ratings, this is why I went with Washington State. Again, alert for me. Power rating says it ought to be really close because Drake has had a really good year. Out of the MVC, they're 28-6. Well, the power rating says Washington State at 51%, Drake at 49%. But the simulation alert says Washington State at 66%, Drake at 34%. So because of that, I'm going to go Washington State. I think the Pac-12 is absolutely atrocious. I really don't know why I picked Washington State. Probably because ESPN Plus told me the statistics kind of go in their favor, guys. Your thoughts?
Well, this game, and credit to Wazoo, this is a program that has not made the NCAA tournament very much at all in its history, and they're making it this year and their last year in the Pac-12. But this game is being played in Omaha. The Drake Bulldogs are from Des Moines, Iowa. It's not that far from Des Moines to Omaha. They will pack that joker out. And they have possibly the best player in the tournament that you have not heard of. And that is Tucker DeVries. Is the son of their head basketball coach. And for any of y'all that keep up with mid-major basketball, that guy has run the Missouri Valley Conference, which is a very, very good mid-major league. I really thought Indiana State should have got in as well out of that thing who Drake beat in the championship game. I think Drake wins, and I don't pick Drake to beat Iowa State later on, but you get Drake and Iowa State in Omaha, in that next round, that could be a game in the tournament type deal.
Yeah, man, I second Waddell on that. Tucker, he can fill it up. He can off the dribble, catch and shoot. I mean, he can score. They got a couple other guards that are really good. It was unfortunate, I think them and Indiana State should have both gotten in, but that's a really competitive league. Like that's a fun when they call it Arch Madness. When you get to that point, Bradley was really good. Like they had some really good teams. Washington State not really been there. First time in a while. And Drake went last year, and didn't Drake? I want to say they won one or two maybe. And so they've kind of been there and done that, and so I'll take Drake as well.
All right, I'll stand alone. Iowa State, hot as firecrackers come in. Power rating says 96% chance to win. Simulation says 95. Iowa State. South Dakota, I don't think is as good as they've been in the past. I think Iowa State beats them pretty good.
Whoa. You better put some respect on South Dakota State, sir.
The Jack
That is the
Jack
Rabbit. The committee having a sense of humor as well in this game. TJ Otzenberg, the head coach at Iowa State, took the Jack Rabbits to the tournament a couple of years ago. I believe they won a game, maybe nearly won a game. They had a really good player named Mike Dom, but they don't have him this year.
Nope.
So Iowa State, I think, rolls in that one.
Hey, before you go, O'Donnell, I do want to talk about the NCAA selection's humor in the women's bracket. Alabama plays Florida State in the NCAA women's tournament. Yes, sir. That is fantastic.
Well, and Alabama had this subtle tweet after they beat Florida State.
Yes,
and
they did.
Football, so
I bet that game is going to be as intense as it could be.
They want some more fun. So I did not know that's who they played, but good deal.
Yes,
good
sir.
Deal.
All right, who you got? Iowa State?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Let me get to that real quick because I should have been doing this the whole time. Moving on, we're going to go to the West. All right. Number 1 seed, North Carolina. I got North Carolina. What y'all got?
Yep.
UNC.
Yeah. Now, I don't know that UNC's, just the best 1 seed ever. I don't. But their bracket is, gosh, terrible. All right. Tough one. Because I heard one of the guys on ESPN say that Tom Izzo has a winning record when he is the underseed, which is insane. Power ratings has Michigan State 51%. Simulation has Michigan State at 66%. I'm actually going opposite of my, there's a big difference there. I'm going opposite. I'm going Mississippi State. Gosh, man, the way they play, and they may get beat, but they have a chance to aggravate the pit. They literally could beat North Carolina. Like, it wouldn't shock me. But it also wouldn't shock me that they get beat the first game, because they can't score sometimes. Thoughts?
Get the ice and ibuprofen ready for this one. That's going to be one physical basketball game. You talk about Tom Izzo and how those Michigan State teams always are. They really pride themselves on defense and physicality, and Mississippi State same way. I think I'm gonna say Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State's played in a tougher league this year, but I think the Big Ten's a little down, but Michigan State won. Wouldn't shock me either.
Hey, it's kind of ironic that Michigan State, you just said defense. Well, Nate Oates is fixing to go there, so maybe he can learn some of that. All right, go ahead. What? Hold on.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Michigan State, Izzo's done it for so long and done it, done a really good job there. But maybe a little bit of the SEC bias in me. I'm going to say Mississippi State also.
Yep. All right, moving on. Alert. We could have a 12-5 upset, guys. Grand Canyon, what is their mascot, Waddell? This is a tough one.
The Antelopes.
Yes, sir, it is.
I got a fun fact about that.
All right, hang on. And they played the St. Mary what, Waddell?
The Gales.
All right. Grand Canyon comes in at 29-4. They are probably the mid-major with the best record. They probably the hottest mid-major out of the WAC. The power ratings give St. Mary's only a 57% chance to win, but the simulation says St. Mary's at 81%. But it's NCAA tournament time, baby. Key that music. I'm going with Grand Canyon in the first 12-5 just because I feel the upset coming.
Yeah, that's a popular pick. There's a lot of people. I think Seth Davis on CBS had Grand Canyon making it all the way to the Sweet 16. Probably a little bitter for Waddell, I bet, with being Bryce. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, you got Anthony Grant, who's done really, really well at Dayton. Just couldn't, just didn't do it at Alabama, and kind of the same way with Drew. I think he does a really good job. I don't know, St. Mary's. I'm gonna say St. Mary's. I think this is a really good team. A team that probably a lot of people don't. They always kind of know St. Mary's, I guess, but I think they're gonna win it.
The line's at 5 to start with, or the point spread, whatever. Kind of like Tony Barbie's doing a good job at Central Michigan too.
I will say this. I'm not going to get into the tenure of Rice Drew at Vanderbilt because this is a friendly show. But he's done a great job at Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon also has fantastic support facilities, by far the best in the WAC. I'm gonna go St. Mary's because I think that league is much better than the WAC. In there with Gonzaga, San Francisco have a very good team. Santa Clara very good this year. And plus, Randy Bennett is one of the most underrated coaches I think in the country in Division I basketball. And I can see St. Mary's being a sleeper to make a run in this thing. I really like them, which means they'll probably get beat by Grand Canyon. But I'm gonna go St. Mary's.
Yeah. All right. I don't even want to talk about this one. Alabama has an 80% chance to beat the College of Charleston Cougars. The simulation has them winning 92% of the time. We have established it well that Alabama can score. Let me read you their offensive ranks real quick. In points per possession, they are number 2 in the country. Effective field goal percentage, they're 11th. Now, they turn over the ball a little bit. They're 90th in that. Offensive rebound, they're 22nd. Now, Alabama's free throws, maybe not as great as they want it to be, but their defense, here's what it costs them. Opponents' points per possessions, they are 261st. How many teams are there now? 300 and what? 60-something, maybe?
Close enough.
Their opponent's effective field goal percentage is 143rd. They do not turn their opponents over. They're 281st. They allow way too many offensive rebounds. They're 219th in that. And they're 319th in letting people get to the line and score. So those things are going to come back and bite them. But they don't play anybody that defends elitely unless Mississippi State or Michigan State make it out. St. Mary's don't have an elite defense. North Carolina wants to run with you. St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, all those people want to run with you. So to me, Alabama's hardest matchup is the first round because College Charleston will slow it down and they will limit the possessions and they will try to make Alabama comfortable. Now, I don't think they can do it. I don't think they have the athletes, but the spread is 10.5. I think College of Charleston covers that, but I'm going to say it's 8 or 9 to Bama. Who wants it?
Yeah, no, I could see that happening. At this point, there's not a lot you can do. Like you can say, "Oh, we worked shell, we worked this and that all week," and at this point, you either got it or you don't. Defensively, they don't. So, I really have no idea what to think or what they, you never know what team you're going to get. In March, that's not very good. So I think they'll obviously beat Charleston, but I don't know.
Yep. All right, Waddell, upset alert?
I didn't pick it. I picked Alabama, but I'm going to tell you, College of Charleston, Pat Kelsey has done a fantastic job there. That team will be ready to go. That will be a very tough physical team that will, as you alluded to it, will probably be willing to slow it down and try not to get in a track meet with Alabama. I just can't quite pick it. But I think it, switch Alabama team's going to show up. That could be a really good game. That could be a game Alabama loses, or Alabama could win by 30. They're kind of like Kentucky. So a lot of different ways you can go with them.
Yep, no doubt. All right. I lost my thing here. Clemson, New Mexico. I went with New Mexico. New Mexico is actually pretty good. They Their offense is okay. I mean, they're pretty good, but they defend elitely. They're in the top 50 in every defensive category. They don't turn the ball over. Now, they can't shoot threes, but it ain't like Clemson's going to go out there and score 90 either. It ain't like they got to be hot to beat Clemson. I think it's a good matchup for New Mexico. The power rating set New Mexico 53%. The simulation actually favors Clemson by a lot, 61%. But the point spread is for New Mexico State by 2.5. I'm going with New Mexico State.
I'm pretty sure if New Mexico. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
No, you got it.
I'm pretty sure if New Mexico didn't play defense, Richard Pitino, son of Rick Pitino, probably couldn't go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But that'd be a really good game. That's kind of one of them. I think it'd be one of the better games in the first round. I picked Clemson, but if New Mexico won, again, wouldn't shock me.
Yep.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
I don't. I've not done my bracket yet, but I don't know. I could see. I mean, that would be a 6-11 that I could see definitely New Mexico winning it, but I'm kind of undecided on that one. Honestly, that's a tough one.
Yep. Moving on. The 3 seed in this side of the bracket is the Baylor Bears, who beat the Auburn Tigers. 93% chance to win according to power ratings and an 89% on the simulation. Baylor scores fairly well. They can play defense fairly well sometimes. They do have a lottery pick on their team who's pretty darn good, the freshman. They shoot really well from 3. One of the better shooting teams in the country. I like Baylor. They haven't played real well lately. Waddell kind of thinks this may be an upset. I'm not with him on that. I think Baylor wins by 10 plus. The line is 13. What you guys got?
Well, since you're going to lead into that, it's not one I called, but Colgate, this is, I think, year 4 or 5 in a row that they've been in the tournament, which I know Baylor's been in it, pretty dang consistently as well. But, Colgate has a lot of guys on that roster that can go off from 3-point range at any given time. Matt Langle has done a really good job. I can't believe he hasn't gotten a higher major job at this point yet, because they're always, really good every year, elite shooting team. I picked Baylor, but man, that's one that could be really dicey.
Yeah. OD?
Yeah, I think Baylor wins. I think Colgate will give them a tougher game than they'll see in the second round, but you'll be hearing a little bit more about Baylor from me a little bit later on.
All right. Next one, Dayton versus Nevada. We're going to try to speed her up a little bit, boys. Nevada favored by 1. Simulation actually says Dayton, and power ratings actually say Nevada. So this one is kind of a coin flip. As you Alabama fans know, Anthony Grant's team still don't score well. They score better than they did when he was at Alabama, but, pace of play is not great. They're effective. And their defense, surprisingly, is not very good at Dayton, which is a shocker. Anyways, I'm going Nevada.
I've got Nevada.
I took Nevada.
All right, no Anthony Grant fans here. Waddell, I'll let you tell us about Long Beach State. Go ahead. Tell us how they got here. Tell us what's important.
Tell
us what the mascot is first.
Long Beach State, the 49ers. And in baseball, they are known as the Dirtbags. How about that?
What's that?
So, Long Beach State, their head basketball coach, by the way, was relieved of his duties, kind of mutual partner of the ways, or whatever you want to call it. He got fired prior to the conference tournament, but he'd been there forever. And they said, hey, we'll let you coach the conference tournament. Well, here they are in the NCAA tournament after winning the Big West. And, that's one AD that has some egg on his face now. But don't think they beat Arizona. But Long Beach State, I will say, has wins over Michigan and USC in the non-conference. And any time that you play a low seed, on that 15-14 line that's beating some high major competition, they're going to not be scared of Arizona. They're going to have confidence. And that's one to kind of watch for, even though I have Arizona in the Final Four. But that could be a bracket, that could be a bracket record potentially, because Arizona has been really, really elite this year. And they've also lost to Oregon State this
year. Yeah. I got Arizona. I got Arizona in the Final Four. I think Arizona's athletes can match up with anybody's. I think maybe outside of Kentucky, they have the best NBA type roster than anybody has. But again, they lay some eggs, but that's common Miller things that he does with his teams. So, anyways, I'm going with Arizona. The line is 20. I think it's somewhere close to there. I don't think it's close. What, D?
Yep, same. Yeah. And not a big analysis on that one.
Yeah.
Arizona I like.
Yeah, no doubt. Moving on to the Houston region, which is the South. I got Houston. I actually don't think they cover. The line is 24. I actually don't think they cover, but I do think Houston is pretty good, and they win by 15 or so. Guys, thoughts?
Houston by a lot.
What you got, Waddell? Houston?
Houston wins, but I'm like you. I think Longwood covers.
Yep. Next one, Nebraska versus A&M. I really like A&M. Y'all know I've been in love with A&M for a while. I'm a Buzz fan. Nebraska is actually favored by 1.5. Texas A&M can dirty the game up real quick, man. And I just don't know that Nebraska seen anything like what they're about to see. Texas A&M was a top 5 offensive rebounding team at one point. They don't play defense as well as I want them to, but they do score better. But they are the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the country. I'm going with A&M. The simulation says Nebraska by 63%, though, but I'm actually going A&M.
I took A&M as well, but that'll be a really interesting game because Nebraska is a very good offensive team. They've never won an NCAA tournament game, though.
Wow.
And,
wow.
Believe it or not. So
crazy.
I'm going A&M.
OD.
Yeah, when you hear the line like that it's Nebraska's actually favored, I know they're the 8th seed, but I kind of thought Texas A&M would be favored. That's kind of the one where everybody's going with A&M. I may go back and change it later, but I'll take Nebraska.
I wouldn't be shocked. I think that's a toss-up, really. Yeah. Moving on, this will be hot upset alert. I think I may have took every 12 seed. I don't know if I took. Let's see what the other one is. No, I didn't take every 12 seed, but I did take this one, the James Madison Dukes, coming in at 31-3. They are favored to lose by 4.5 over Wisconsin, who was defeated in the Big Ten tournament by the Fighting Illini. The power rating says Wisconsin 65%. The simulation is the exact same. I'm going with James Madison. When you've only lost 3 games all year and you're ranked number 12 in the country in defense, you've got something figured out. I'm a James Madison fan. They can have their softball coach back if you're an Auburn softball fan. But I really like James Madison.
James Madison beat Michigan State earlier this year. Again, they're not going to be intimidated. The Sun Belt, very good league, very underrated league. Arkansas State was much improved this year. Appalachian State, who was actually the top seed in that league tournament,
they beat Auburn.
Beat Auburn at home. So that's a pretty good league. Man, I like James Madison to not only beat Wisconsin, but in the showdown of Duke versus the Dukes, I like James Madison to win that one as well.
Yep.
I don't like Wisconsin. I don't,
tell us, Coach.
When I say I don't like them, they just don't do anything that makes me say, well, they're going to win. They're going to make a run, but I'm going to take them. I don't feel confident in it, but I think they'll win it.
He just wants to be different. Guys, when have you ever seen a 5 seed at 22-13? I think Wisconsin's a little overseeded. But that's probably why they got James Madison too. Anyways.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats. And moving on to the Duke Blue Devils, who probably have the most NBA-ready talent, more so than Kentucky. They have an 86% chance scoring to the power ratings, 87% scoring to the simulation, and they're favored by 11.5. I could see this being an upset, but I also could see Duke winning by about 11.5, about 11, 12. I'm going with Duke. I think their athletes are better, but this is March Madness. I think this could be an upset pick, but I'm not picking it. I think Duke wins.
I'll take the Blue Devils as well.
Could see it being close. Vermont seems to be in it every year, but I almost thought about picking that one. Then I got looking into it a little bit more and didn't like it quite as much. So I'm gonna go Duke. They'll get their upset in the next round.
Yeah, I think so too. Duke actually scores too well in my opinions. Hey, who will Shane Reed pick, Waddell, you think?
I don't know. He's a pretty objective Duke fan. He knows they can win by a bunch or they can get upset because it's Duke.
And we'll see who Drew DeArmond will pick, and that's Duke. All right, moving on. Texas Tech, NC State, high upset alert pick. NC State is hot, won the ACC. And North Carolina State is favored to lose by 5.5. The simulation has them at 47%, though. Power ratings has them at 41. I'm going with NC State with the upset. I just think, heck, they're playing well. Not that they do anything well. They're just playing well.
About Kevin Keats, the head coach of NC State, was kind of on the hot seat. A lot of people thought he'd be gone entering the ACC tournament, and he wins the ACC tournament, triggering a 2-year extension in his contract.
And $4 million over the span of his contract more.
It's a great agent right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why can't our agents do that for us?
But with that said, I like Texas Tech. Good guard play wins, and Texas Tech has good guard.
That's all they got. And, I'm not a Tech fan. Maybe it's Final Four sourness from a long time ago. I don't know, but yeah, they got a guard or two, but that's it. Anyways, I'm sorry. OD, go ahead.
Give me Tech. Don't really feel confident in it, but I'll take the Red Raiders.
All right, Kentucky, Oakland. I don't even think this is close. I think Kentucky beats the absolute pee out of them. The spread is 13.5. Simulation says Kentucky 96%. Power ratings 90%. We've talked about Kentucky enough. No need to talk about them. I'm going with Kentucky by a lot.
Agreed. Right there with you.
Closer than the experts think. But I go Kentucky.
I think you're crazy. Florida versus the play-in winner of Colorado and Boise State. I think that's Colorado. But Florida did lose one of their best players today and one of their big guys. But I still think, this is a good matchup for Florida. They can outscore Colorado because Colorado generally don't score that well. Colorado does have one of the better offenses, but it's because of those main two guys that have to do so much heavy lifting for them. I think Florida wins. There's no spread. I can't give you a spread because they don't know who they're going to play yet. But I'm going with Florida versus whoever they play. Don't care. Guys?
I think they'll play Colorado, and I think Florida will beat them by about I'll say 6 to 8 points, probably, maybe even a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Waddell?
I pretty much agree with O'Donnell on that.
Yep. All right, moving on. Marquette. I think Marquette's pretty good. I think they've got a chance. They come in at 25-9. They play Western Kentucky. One of me and Coach Waddell's friends that we know, good friend of ours, J.B. Brown's at Western Kentucky. Shout out if he ever watches our show. The spread is 14.5 by Marquette. I think Marquette wins by more than that. 97% chance on the simulation. Guys, thoughts?
Western Kentucky, very proud program, very basketball tradition rich program. at the mid-major level. I like Marquette, though, and I like Marquette to cover. Just big reason is both of them kind of play the same style, and when they play the same style, you always take the more talented team.
OD.
Yep, I'll take Marquette by a good bit.
Gotcha. I could see Purdue getting beat again. It ain't going to happen, but I do not think Purdue is real good. They have issues with athleticism. Now, that don't always show its ugly face in the Big Ten because they don't have elite athletes, but it's about to. I think Purdue wins. There is no line for this because they don't know who they play either. I don't think it matters. Purdue big. But I could see them getting beat.
Purdue big.
Purdue over Grambling. Purdue big.
I am swag, he said. All right, I don't know who to pick in this one. Utah State, Texas, TCU. The line is TCU 3.5. The simulation is split 50-50, and the power ratings favor TCU 54%, 46. I don't know who to pick. I went with Utah State because they've only lost 6 games. So, I don't know. Toss up. What you guys got?
When you told me the Vegas line right there, I literally switched my pick to TCU. That's how close I think that is. Yeah, give me TCU.
Yeah, that's another tough one because you got either ways on that. I'll say TCU.
But see,
not confident at all.
Yeah, but man, what if that was Mississippi State, Michigan State? That would be the upset pick for round 2. Everybody would pick them over Purdue. But neither one of those teams make you go, they're good. They can beat Purdue.
To me, that's Purdue's whole bracket. Because Tennessee's Tennessee. They don't.
Yeah.
And I like Creighton, but I don't know how far Creighton.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, this is McNeese State's first time in the tournament. I misspoke earlier, not Morehead State. This is McNeese State's first time in the tournament. Gonzaga, they are 30-3. They are the Fighting Will Wades. That is a strong A offer, baby. He needs to be in the SEC again. He will be at a big conference before too long. I think the Fighting Will Wades make a run and get to the Sweet 16, baby. Chop it up. They are good. I actually saw him play twice in the conference tournament. One time I was on ESPN and just clicked on him because I knew what way he was coaching them. And the second time I watched him on ESPN or ESPN2. They've got elite for their mid-major in the Southland or whatever, the Southern Land, whatever they're called. They have elite athletes. And I think, that's my pick. Go with it, guys. What you got?
Man, I know a job that's open right now, very close to Will Wade's.
The spread is 6 for Gonzaga.
Will Wade grew up a fan of this school. It's in the SEC. It's currently open. Just saying, but he's done a great job at McNeese. Does a good job wherever he goes. He can debate the reasons for that, but now it's all legal. But my only holdback, I picked Gonzaga, but this is my only holdback. I don't think the Southland is a very good league, and they ran roughshod through it. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's a pretty awful mid-major league, to be perfectly honest, when you look at who else is in that thing. And, that's what kind of swayed me on that, and it's a really popular upset pick. But, if you look at McNeese's schedule, they did beat Michigan. A lot of people beat Michigan this year. But they also, in the non-conference, had losses to La Tech and Western Carolina. So, that could be an upset. McNeese could definitely win that game, but I'm picking Gonzaga.
They defend. They're 11th in the country in offensive efficiencies. They're 10th, 11th in defensive efficiency, or points per possession efficiency, I guess I should say, include that up. So they defend and they score, Coach. And I've watched them personally score. They can fill it up. Go ahead.
The other thing, too, is that
go ahead, Coach.
Games Other thing too is that game's in Salt Lake City. That will be a Gonzaga home game. Salt Lake City.
The line is 6.
Give me the Zags. I think it'll be a close game though. But give me Gonzaga.
Simulation is 87% Gonzaga. All right, moving on. Upset alert pick. Upset alert. I'm actually not going with this pick. The line is Kansas by 7. This is Kansas and the one and only Sanford Bulldogs. The simulation says 84% Kansas, and the power ratings only have 72% Kansas. I'm going with Kansas because, again, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, Arizona have the most athletes in the country. And Sanford went up and played Purdue, and Purdue is not extremely athletic. I know it was early in the season, but they got absolutely wally-mopped with that size and what athleticism they have. I know Bucky Ball, baby, it's great, and I think his upset's coming. I just don't think it's this year. I'm going with Kansas.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple things. Is McCullers and Hunter Dickinson, are they healthy? Are they going to play? They kind of bowed out very early without them playing. If they're healthy, they'll win this game. But if not, Sanford's got a big man that he's been dominating, been just putting up big numbers. They like to play fast, and that they may, with Kansas having some guys hurt, that they may not have the depth. So I'll say Kansas just with the thought of Dickinson and those guys playing. But if they don't, Sanford, Sanford could be a Sweet 16 team. And maybe part of it's just because it's Bucky Ball and it's here in the state, but done a really good job, fun to watch. But give me Kansas with the thought those two guys are healthy.
Well, this is actually the big upset on my bracket.
Cue the music, baby.
And this is why I really like this upset.
Because you want their coach. Everybody knows, Coach. You can't hide it.
Absolutely. Bring Bucky to Vandy. I'm all on that train. But really, looking at it objectively, Kansas is really beat up right now. Even if, those two players are back for Kansas that O'Donnell alluded to, how healthy are they going to be? Kansas doesn't play a very deep bench, whereas Sanford plays an extremely deep bench. They have 10 guys that log a lot of minutes that play very well for them. And plus, and I think that factors in because the game is in Salt Lake City. It's not going to be a Kansas home game. There's going to be a lot of neutral fans there that really hate Kansas because I don't think anybody really likes Kansas outside Kansas fans. And, man, the altitude factor in Salt Lake, if you've never been up the altitude, it's more than you think it is. And, the air is thinner, you get tired a lot quicker. The way Sanford plays up and down, and they have a lot of guys that play a ton of minutes, I think that can really benefit them at altitude versus a beat-up Kansas team that, they don't rotate a lot of guys off their bench. Now, with that said, Kansas could go in there, beat them by 20. But I really, that's kind of my reasoning behind actually picking Sanford. And I don't really usually love picking upsets that everybody else kind of thinks is going to happen. But this is one I buy. And I'll take Sanford.
It is an upset pick that a lot of people are going to like. And there's a lot of energy in Sanford. But, guys, if Kansas is healthy, Kansas could – okay, let's go back a month. Kansas was a national championship pick. They have the athletes. They have the basketball players. Yes, they're hurt. Yes, they are beat up. But if they are back, they can make a run and be the team that comes out of this bracket. And I think at this point in the season, athleticism matters the most. And I think they are clearly the most athletic team. And I just think it's a bad matchup for Samford, if you ask me. I think there's a whole lot of other people Samford could play and would be favored, in my opinion. This just isn't one of them. But
I think trends matter both ways as well. And Sanford has really been trending up. SoCon's a very good league at the mid-major level. And Kansas has been trending the other direction even before the injuries.
You're right. But a few years ago, go ahead.
They had a whoever, I think was it Furman that came out last year, and they won a game. So they've had a team out of their conference win a game before. So shows you the type of league it is.
Yeah, teams like Presbyterian can come beat SEC schools. Yeah. All right, moving on. South Carolina, Oregon. South Carolina's favored by 1. The simulation actually has Oregon at 53%. Power ratings actually have South Carolina at 63%. South Carolina, in all of our opinions, if we kind of spoke on this, and we're not going to speak a whole lot, but they've kind of overachieved. But I know Oregon's hot, but I'm not a Pac-12 fan. You lost 11 games in the Pac-12. You ain't worth a toot. I don't care what you did at the end of the season. South Carolina's been through the grinder, stood tall. Now, South Carolina got smallywalked by Auburn, but South Carolina does not match up well with Auburn. That is the worst matchup for them. And so you could just throw that out. But everybody else South Carolina's been knucks to knucks with. I think South Carolina wins by double digits.
It'll be South Carolina.
Give me the Gamecocks.
Yes, sir. Moving on. I almost picked this as an upset, but I did not. This is that gut. That gut tells you 1 or 2 during the tournament. This is my gut, but I went with Creighton. The spread is 12.5. The simulation is 93% Creighton. Power ratings are 88% Creighton. Everything says pick Creighton. They could actually make it to the Final Four of this bracket. But my gut, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going with Creighton.
I am too. Yeah, big Creighton fan.
Yeah. I think Creighton's good. I don't know why I got that feeling about that one. I can't explain it. Texas versus, in my opinion, will be Virginia, but it's Virginia or Colorado State. I've actually went ahead and put whoever wins the Virginia-Colorado State game as the winner over Texas. I am not a Texas fan. I don't think they're very good. I've watched them play 3 or 4 times at pieces. Hook them down. I do not think they are very good. They are way overrated, in my opinion. Again, there's no line. There's really none of that other matrix I can throw at you because we don't know who they're playing. But I do think Virginia plays them, and I think Virginia shuts them down and puts that D on them and wins. Guys.
So
I halfway agree with you.
Go ahead, Coach. You got it.
I halfway agree with you, Sparkman. I think Texas loses to the winner of the first 4 game in Dayton between Virginia and Colorado State, but I think they will lose to Colorado State instead of Virginia. So give me the CSU Rams winning 2 games early on.
I am right there with Coach Waddell. I think I want to say that one of those matchups in the first 4, I think have actually went on to win the first game in the tournament once they got in. And so give me Colorado State beating Virginia, and then give me Colorado State beating Texas.
Yep. All right. Tennessee plays the St. Peter's. Waddell, what is their mascot?
Peacocks.
Tennessee is favored by 19.5. I don't think Tennessee is real good at this point in the season, but boy, do they have an easy road. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Simulation, 99% Tennessee. Power ratings, 99% Tennessee. I actually think this could be one of those bracket busters that shocks the world, but I ain't picking it. I'm going with Tennessee. But don't be surprised if this one is closer than the experts think. Guys.
If it was any other 15 seed, I would agree with you, but I think St. Peter's is the worst.
I do too.
By far, I think you could argue that they should be on the 16 line instead of Longwood. Now, this is also the committee having to, kind of finding interesting matchups in there. Zakai Ziegler, the outstanding point guard for the Tennessee Vols, his brother actually plays for St. Peter's. Found that out today.
Wow. All right. OD.
Tennessee a lot.
All right. So here's how we're going to go through the next step. So we can't really go through our individual picks. We'll just kind of give who we think's coming out. We'll kind of give our Sweet 16 thoughts, our Elite 8 thoughts, and Final Four. We won't go game by game. We'll just kind of talk general teams within that bracket now. All right. Let's move back to the East. UConn. I think it is UConn versus Auburn in the Sweet 16. And then I think it is Illinois versus Iowa State. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, think 3 of the 4 best teams are in that bracket. I think Iowa State is really good with Auburn and UConn. I don't think Illinois is necessarily one of the best teams, but they are playing really well. And because, baby, I'm going to represent guys, I really feel like this is Bruce Pearl's year. Our boys are different. If there's anybody other than Houston that can match up with UConn, it is Auburn, because we do have the bigs to go nose to nose with them, but we also have the guard play, and I know guard play was our problem, but it's come along, and we're getting good production out of our guards right now. I think Baker Mendoza could be a problem for us because he gets too emotional. I think Katie Johnson has eliminated some of his problems, but I think Baker Mendoza's kind of feels himself right now, and he needs to not feel himself so much. But I'm going with Auburn over UConn. I think that may be the best game of the tournament. And then I'm going to go Iowa State over Illinois. And then I'm going to go Auburn over Iowa State going to the Final Four in a track meet. Thoughts?
Yeah, this is no doubt the best region, like a really good region. I thought Iowa State should have been a 1 seed.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you that they don't really value conference tournaments, because Iowa State, I mean, Houston doesn't normally get beat like that, and they just embarrassed them.
They beat them twice.
Yeah. And I really haven't been sold on Iowa State, and I still don't know if I am. But when you do that twice to Houston and win the Big 12, I do think it'll be UConn-Auburn, and that's going to be a really good matchup. Just, again, I think UConn's so good.
They are. I agree.
I think they're going to get past Auburn. I think it'll be Illinois, and this one's, I mean, I like Drake a lot, but I'll say Iowa State just because I'm going to try not to get too crazy out there, and then I'll have Iowa State and UConn, and then UConn beating Iowa State.
All right, Waddell.
So, Sweet 16 in the East Regional, I got UConn versus Auburn, and I got Iowa State versus BYU. And in those 2 games, I have Iowa State defeating BYU, and I have the Auburn Tigers.
Boom!
Over UConn.
That's my guy, Waddell. Yes, sir.
Johnny Broom's a problem.
He is a problem.
And I think, and you're going to see later on in my bracket, I think the Big East is down. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But that'll be reflected.
Here's the thing that I think Auburn is going to win that championship. And here's why. Because when we take Broom out, who's so good offensively, and he's learning how to protect the rim, Auburn is first in the country in a field goal percentage defensively in the paint. That means not only Broom, because he's only playing 25 minutes a game, affects shots. The player is Cardwell. He is our MVP without being an MVP, because he affects shots more than Broom. He controls the paint, and he can get in there and bang with the best of them. Waddell, I'm super proud of you, man. Yes, sir.
People of America, this is the Auburn Tigers podcast.
Hey,
we're going to be talking about baseball here in a minute.
No, we're not. We're not talking about baseball. Hey, you.
Get swept by them doors.
All right, who you got, Auburn and Iowa State, Coach? We got to move on. Who you got going to the Final Four, Auburn or Iowa State?
Oh, I got you. My bad. Sorry for the dead ass. My bad. I got Auburn.
Yes, sir.
Auburn over
yes,
Iowa
sir. Oh, man. This is a great day.
Not sure to what extent. We'll get to that later.
All right, moving on to the West. I think there's a high probability that North Carolina gets beat in that second round. But I don't know who in the heck I want to pick out of this bracket. So I went with North Carolina over Mississippi State to get to the Sweet 16. Coach OD, I've actually got Alabama in the Sweet 16. I think Grand Canyon or St. Mary's is a good matchup for Alabama. It's all about matchups, and I think Alabama drew a good. And I'll be honest, I hate Alabama. I hate them. Let me just clarify that. I hate Alabama, but I actually think I hate Crimson. I hate Nick Saban. I hate Nate Oates. I hate them. All right, but I think Alabama could actually beat North Carolina. I really do. I almost picked Alabama to be in the Elite Eight and get beat by Arizona. I could very realistically see that happening. Anyways, I got Alabama getting beat by North Carolina in the Sweet 16, which I don't feel confident about either one of them being there, really. I mean, Alabama will probably be there. In the bottom part, I've got Baylor getting beat by Arizona. And then Arizona going to the Final Four out of this bracket. I think this is not a very good bracket. Or maybe it just matches up well for the team I hate the most. I don't know. Guys, thoughts?
Yeah, it's not a very good bracket. Wasn't really sold on Arizona. I didn't think that they should have even been in this in thoughts of a 1 seed. Alabama, if they're on, then, they can win the whole region. But I'll say it'll be North Carolina and Alabama on one side. And just because I don't feel confident in Alabama's defense, I'll say North Carolina beats Alabama.
Yeah.
Just because. On the other side, I'll say Arizona and Baylor in the Sweet 16. And I'll take Baylor beating Arizona. And then I'll take Baylor beating North Carolina.
Yeah, and I could see New Mexico getting to the Sweet 16. I could see New Mexico getting to the Final Four. There's nobody in this bracket I'm going, oh, my God, they got it, Waddell?
So I'm going to do this reverse order. I have Arizona over Baylor. And I have North Carolina beating St. Mary's. I think St. Mary's upsets Alabama, and it goes back to when Alabama's really good, they're elite. When they're not on, they're very below average. And St. Mary's is a really well-coached basketball team, very efficient on the offensive end, run good stuff. I mean, that's kind of one of my sleeper picks to make it Sweet 16. And give me St. Mary's, but you can also see Alabama in the Final Four.
I agree with that.
There's a lot of teams that could do a lot of different things in this end of the bracket.
Yeah. Yep. Moving over to the South. I'll just start with Final Four. I think it's Houston. I think they're really good. I think Marquette could beat them. I think there's some teams that could beat them, but Houston has been really good. I mean, I think personally, A&M is a terrible matchup for Houston if A&M can get there, because A&M can bang with them and maybe could outscore them. I'm not predicting that. I think that could be a bad matchup for Houston. But I don't think Duke nor James Madison or Wisconsin can give Houston a ball game. I'm going to go with Houston versus James Madison in the Sweet 16. Then the bottom half, I'm going to go Kentucky versus Marquette. And then I'm staying with Kentucky. I think that game's 50-50. I think Marquette could beat them. But I'm going to go Kentucky. I'm going to go Kentucky versus Houston. And I'm going to go Kentucky to the Final Four over Houston. No, I'm not. I'm going to go Houston in the Final Four. Guys, I'm torn on Kentucky. I don't know what to do. I'm going Houston. They're more consistent. Houston over Kentucky. All right, guys.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to your point about that here in just a sec. I'll take Houston and Wisconsin in the Sweet 16 with Houston beating Wisconsin. Or I'm sorry, Houston beating Duke. I'll have Duke.
You don't like Wisconsin, remember?
Nope. I'll take Houston over Duke, and then I'll go Kentucky and Marquette in the Sweet 16. I guess it would be Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll have Kentucky beat Marquette. Got Kentucky and Houston playing to go to the Final Four, and I just think the physicality of Houston and the consistency of Houston will hurt Kentucky. Kentucky's not had a good March since probably 2018 or 19. So I've got Houston advancing on to the Final Four.
So I have
Go ahead.
You go on.
The one and dones of Kentucky is why, Coach, they don't play well in March, because those kids know in a month from now they're moving on with their life and they don't have anything vested. And so when crap hits the fan in March and it gets really tough, as you've said, they cowered out lately. And I could definitely – that's – yeah. Go ahead, Waddell.
Kentucky fans will probably be happy with me. There's any that listen to this thing because the last several times I picked Kentucky to do something, and they have flopped. So I'm not picking them this time. We'll get to that in a second. But I got Houston over James Madison, who I do think beat Duke. I think James Madison, the Dukes, beat Duke. And I think Texas Tech beats Kentucky because Kentucky struggles to defend really good guard play. And I mean, I think it bites them again. I'm just not real. I'm not real thrilled with Kentucky. That they could be really, really when they're on, they're elite, but they're kind of like Alabama. Though I think they're a little better than Alabama because they actually do have some rim protectors. But man, when they don't defend, they get beat by about anybody. But I like Texas Tech, and I like Marquette. I like Texas Tech defeating Marquette. Again, I'm not high on the Big East. And I got Houston beating Texas Tech to go to the Final Four.
Coach.
That's my crazy bracket right there. That's the crazy end of it.
All right, whatever. Moving on. Last bracket. I think we all agree Purdue's not very good, but you know what? They don't play anybody for a while. So here's what I got. I'm just going to tell you what I got. I got Purdue beating Utah State, then Purdue versus McNeese in the Sweet 16. I've got McNeese beating Kansas in the second round. And I was tempted, boys, to pick McNeese to go to the Elite Eight. I'm telling y'all, they're for real. I'm telling you, they're for real. Listen to me.
Well, then don't be a win. Pick it.
No, I'm not. Okay, I will. I'll go back and pick it. I'm picking it right now. You're not going to call me a wimp. I'm picking it. McNeese.
The fighting will wait.
Go into the Final Eight, Elite Eight. And on the bottom side, I've got South Carolina beating Creighton. I'm sorry, OD. And then I've got Tennessee beating South Carolina to go to the Elite Eight. And then I've got Tennessee, which I don't think they're very good, but they're going to the Final Four, in my opinion. Guys.
I'm going to go Purdue versus Gonzaga. I'm going to say Purdue beats Gonzaga. I'm going to go Tennessee versus South Carolina because, again, like Creighton's weird, man, because they always have a really good regular season and they kind of underperform in the NCAA tournament for whatever reason. And I like South Carolina beating them. I like Tennessee beating South Carolina. Like Purdue beating Gonzaga. And I have Purdue beating Tennessee just kind of purely because
you hate Tennessee.
Well, partly that too, but I try to be objective on here. And, man, Tennessee's kryptonite the past couple years has been Purdue. For whatever reason, they've had Tennessee's number. And Tennessee's post play will be, I think, a little, Edey will be able to neutralize that a little bit. But if Tennessee beat them, it wouldn't surprise me because I'm still not super, super sold on Purdue's athleticism. But I'm not super, super sold that that Tennessee can have a second and third scorer to go along with Dalton Knecht all the time.
Yeah.
And I just feel like at some point they're going to slip up.
I'll be honest. I do want Tennessee to go to the Final Four and Alabama to lose early, just so I can watch Nathan King talk smack to Brian O'Donnell. I can't wait.
He'd be Bryant Wells before. He won't get on me as much as he does Wells. It tears Wells up.
Did I not say Wells? I thought I said Wells. I said Judy.
No, I thought you
Yeah,
said
Wells.
Wells.
I was talking about Wells. No, Wells. Yeah, it tears Wells up.
It
Wells
does.
won't sleep a wink, man.
I'll say give me Purdue beating Kansas in the Sweet 16. Give me Tennessee over Creighton in the Sweet 16, and then give me Purdue beating Tennessee. Don't feel very good about Purdue. Don't feel very good about Tennessee. But I think any of those three, Purdue, Tennessee, or Creighton, could make it to the Final Four. But just to try to be, I guess, not crazy out on a limb, I'll just say Purdue makes it to the Final Four.
All right, I think the Final Four is an easier path than Auburn's regular bracket, but I'm going to go with Auburn beats Arizona. I'm going to go with Houston beats Tennessee. Then I'm going to go with the 4-seed Auburn Tigers, claim their first ever national championship. And Bruce Pearl will live in infamy forever and ever in the hearts of Auburn fans. What do you guys got? Who is your pick?
I'll take UConn beating Baylor, and then I'll take Houston beating Purdue. So I'll have Houston and UConn in the finals, and then first time in a long time, I guess probably since Florida, give me UConn beating Houston in the finals back to back.
Well, Final Four for me, we'll go with the 2-1 seeds first. I got
Waddell?
Purdue beating Houston.
All right,
I got
hey,
Purdue beating Houston.
you better pick the right things, all I got to say, or I've got something coming for you.
Well, I picked this well before the show, so you're going to get what you get on this. But Arizona versus Auburn, the other Final Four matchup, I have Auburn over Arizona to set up a national title showdown between Purdue and the Auburn
If you don't
Tigers.
pick us over Purdue, Coach, they are terrible.
I mean, that was a strong word.
Come on. Vandy could beat Purdue.
Purdue, yeah, that's a stretch. I mean, Purdue is I think they're a really good team. Man, they got Zach Edey, probably National Player of the Year. I think their guard play's been better this year. Big Ten's a really good league. But I don't know. The thing that I keep coming back to with Auburn is being in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. I think that sets you up well, moving forward in the tournament because you can win in a lot of different ways. And with that, kind of weighing those two things out, I'm going to say the Auburn Tigers defeat Purdue, win the national championship, and Bruce Pearl gets his first.
Yes, sir. Hey, let me make that big A beggar, baby. Yes, sir. Crown them right now. Coach OD left, so he didn't want to hear about your Auburn Tigers winning it. But, Coach, I like that pick because I know I'm an Auburn fan. I get it. But Auburn is playing better than anybody in the country, and they do things that nobody else in the country can do. So I think that's a good pick. It's not really that popular pick. As of about an hour ago, they were about the 11th or 12th favorite pick, according to ESPN, that people were picking. So I don't think it's that favorite of a pick because I think they have to go through UConn. But we shall see. Coach, I appreciate your confidence.
And again, like, I'm not an Auburn lover. I don't hate Auburn. It's kind of indifferent on it. I probably ought to dislike them a lot worse because I put up with you all the time.
Come on, Coach.
But, I felt like they were a really elite team all year. They're playing really well at the right time. I mean, I think the SEC is a really good league. I think they're battle tested. Just all those things. And again, coming back to being in the top 10 in both offense and defensive efficiency is a really big deal. And because you are going to have to be able to win multiple ways to win a national title. And they can do that. They can do that. And I think they sets them up well. Now, with that said, we probably have just cursed them by both picking them, or at least I have, so they don't win it. You can blame me. But, I really do like them. And I really do like this Auburn team. I like Bruce Pearl. I think he does an incredible job. I mean, I liked him when he was at UT, even though that's kind of our big rival. And back in those days, UT Vandy basketball was both really, really good. And so there were some wars there. But, I felt like when Auburn hired him, he would do big things. And I think he's on the cusp of doing that this year.
Yeah, he will live. There will be there's already going to be statues, but yeah. And, as I told you, his son's going to be the next head coach at Auburn. If he wins the national championship, we may never fire his son. Like, that's how big of a deal it may be for Auburn. But Auburn has a chance. I'll be rooting for him. You'll hear about me next Sunday. I'll be either happy or ready to jump off a cliff if we happen to lose. But anyways, Coach OD left. Coach, we've been on the air for 2 hours, so we'll talk coaches searches next week because I don't think they're going to hire anybody this week. But if they do, we may hop on and do an instant reaction. But we'll see. We got to talk about
some rumblings.
Yeah, we got to talk about Vandy. Coach Waddell really wants to talk about Vandy. We got some more openings to talk about. We'll do that next week because we have been on the air so long. But we knew this would be a hot topic and something that would take us a while. We're excited for March Madness. It's fantastic. It's finally here. It's our favorite time of the year. Upsets, here they come. That's all I got for tonight. Coach Waddell, what else you got before we head out, man?
Best sporting event at the college level, the NCAA tournament. I hope it doesn't change. I know there's some talk of, maybe expanding the field or, doing away with some of the mid-majors in the field, but I really hope they leave it alone. I think it's perfect the way it is. And, that's what draws us all in this time of the year is, the idea that, anybody can actually win it that's in it. And, it's crazy always happens. Man, I do want to give a special shout out real quick, though, to somebody before we get off of here. Coach, and you know Coach really well, Coach Jerry Long over at Tisch County, Mississippi. Dear friend of mine, won his 1400th career game between baseball and softball this weekend.
Wow.
And you talk about guys impacted a lot of lives. It's impacted mine. Consider that man a mentor, in this profession and just, a very godly man overall. And think the world of him. Want to give him a big time shout out for that right there.
Yeah, you don't get there by accident. Coach, I've got a whopping 86, 88, 90 wins. Yeah, I'm catching you, Long. You better watch out, baby. Those Cherokee years set me back, but I'm coming for you. Anyways, he's a good dude, but that don't happen by accident, man. He's organized. He's everything you'd want in a head coach leading your child. Anyhow, congratulations, Coach Long. I got to coach beside him also with Coach Waddell. He's a good dude. We know the real reason for his success, though, it's really not him. It's his assistant. Let's just go ahead and give credit where it's due. Yeah.
Shout out Scotty James.
Yeah, Scotty James, keeping it right. Anyways, and that's all we got for this week on Coaches Banter. But before we leave, I do want you to get in the mood and hear it one more time before we head out. Until next time, Tiger up, and as always, God bless. Play it, baby. Tigers, national champions. I can hear it now. Crown us, baby.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life.